This video is on point slope form. So this form, it has its own way of setting it up. It's y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. So x and y are always going to be your variables that are in this equation. You're going to leave them as variables even when you rewrite it. The y sub 1, m, and x sub 1 are all going to be replaced with numbers. M is going to be your slope. So you're going to replace it with the value of your slope. The x sub 1 and y sub 1 are going to be replaced with numbers that represent a point on the line. So you'll actually have a coordinate pair, an x value and a y value, that it's a coordinate pair from a point on this line, and you'll just plug those numbers in for x sub 1 and y sub 1. There's that little sub number, it's down to the lower right. And so it just represents that it's from your 1 point. That's all that it means. It's taking that 1 point that you're given and plugging those values in. But remember, in a coordinate pair, x always comes first, but in this formula, your x values are on your right. So be careful when you're plugging it in. So we're going to write an equation in point slope form using the point and slope given. So in this first one, we're given the point 1, 3, and the slope is 2. So we have x sub 1 and y sub 1 because we're putting that little 1 because it's our 1 point, and that's what we're plugging into the formula for that x sub 1 and y sub 1. M is our slope, so we're just going to plug these values in. So we have y minus the y sub 1 value, which is 3. Equals m, our slope, which is 2, times x minus the x sub 1 value, which is 1. And that is our equation. Don't distribute the two. Don't try to simplify, combine like terms. It has to be in this form in order to be in point slope form. So let's try another one. I'm going to plug -2 in for x sub 1 and -4 in for y sub 1. The slope, which is m, is 1/3. So I'm just going to plug those in. We have y minus, the y sub 1 value is -4, equals m is 1/3 times x minus the x sub 1 value, which is -2. All right, so I told you don't distribute, don't combine anything, but if you have minus and negative, you can simplify that because that's just taking care of signs and combining those signs to make it a simpler problem. So anytime you have minus and negative, it changes to plus a positive. So we have y plus 4 equals 1/3 times x, again, minus and negative changes to plus a positive, plus 2. And that's the only thing that you would simplify. Minus a negative, change it to plus a positive. All right. So this one's very similar. You're going to write the equation in point slope form using the points given. So this time you're given 2 points. You're not given the slope though. So we have to find the slope and then use the slope and your point, one of the points, I would use point 1, and plug those values into your equation. So remember, to find slope, one of the formulas is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So those sub numbers are just from point 1 and point 2. So this is x from point 1, y from point 1, x from point 2, y from point 2. Just plug those numbers in. Y from point 2 is 3, minus y from point 1 is 9, over x from point 2 is -3, minus x from point 1 is -2. Minus the negative changes to plus a positive. I'm just going to change that right away. Simplify. 3 minus 9 is -6, over -3 plus 2 is -1. -6 divided by -1 is 6. So we know the slope is 6, and I'm going to use this point. It's already has x sub 1 and y sub 1. and this is my m. I'm just going to plug it in and create my equation. So I have y minus y sub 1, which is 9, equals m is 6, times x minus x sub 1 is negative 2. Right? I can reduce minus a negative to plus a positive. So I have y minus 9 equals 6 times x plus 2. And that's the only thing I simplify is the signs. All right, let's try another one. Again, find the slope first. The x1, y1, x2, y2. So to find the slope, we're going to plug it in. Remember, slope can be represented by m. Y sub 2 is 2, minus y sub 1 is negative 1. Over x sub 2 is 9, minus x sub 1 is 4. And change minus a negative to plus a positive. 2 plus 1 is 3. Over 9 minus 4 is 5. So we know the slope, and we have the value of our points. So plug it into that formula. Y minus y sub 1 is negative 1 equals m 3/5 times x minus x sub 1 is 4. Again, I'm going to simplify minus a negative to plus a positive. So I have y plus 1 equals 3/5 times x minus 4. Okay, so those first 4 problems were fairly simple. Just plugging, the only difference, you had to find the slope. Once you know the slope and a point, just plug the numbers in. That's all you're doing. All right, so next, we're going to identify a point on the line and the slope in each equation. So remember, we have y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. So if I want to know what this point is that's on this line, well, I just have to identify the x sub 1 and y sub 1 values. Well, if I look at the formula, well, over here we have x minus x sub 1, meaning my x sub 1 value is just 1. The y sub 1, y minus y sub 1. Here we have y minus 2. That means the y value is 2. Slope, that's the number multiplied by my x minus the x sub 1 value. So my slope is 5. That's all you have to do. Next one, there is a slight trick. I'm going to write above this y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So our point. Okay, so I look at the x1 value. Well, it's supposed to be x minus x sub 1, but it's x plus 3, meaning the only way to change a minus to a positive is if my point was actually negative. Because remember, positive, it was originally minus negative 3, changed it to plus positive 3. So I know anytime there's a plus in here, my point, my x value was originally negative, because you have to revert it back to the formula where it did have a minus. Only way to make it addition here is if you had minus and negative. So that means my x value is negative 3. Again, I have plus here. The only way for it to have originally been subtraction and now it's addition is if it had been minus negative 4. So I know my y value is negative 4. My slope, it's just multiplied by the x values over here, is negative 1/2. Okay, so that one was pretty simple. And last thing I'm going to teach you how to do is, you're given your equation. You have to identify the point from the equation and the slope, and then graph it. So in this first one, my point, the x sub 1 value, well, this was originally minus negative 2, so my x value is negative 2. My y value, well, it's y minus 1, so 1 is my y value, and my slope is 3. So I'm going to start by graphing that point. The point is x is negative 2, y is 1. And then I'm going to use my slope to find the second point. I always put the slope in rise over run form. The way to make a whole number into fraction, just put a 1 below it. So start at your point. From there, you're going to use a slope. So I'm going to rise 3, run 1. Connect them. And this is the graph. And again, my arrows mean that it continues going because it wouldn't stop just between those 2 points. I could keep going rise over run to create more points. I could continue making points with the slope. Okay, so this one, my point, the x value is 2. And the y value, because it's plus, I know it was originally minus -2. So I know the y value is -2. My slope is -1/2. I'm just going to put the negative up on top, so when I do rise over run, I know that just one of them is negative. So graph the point, x is 2, y is -2. Then from there, I'm going to use a slope. I'm going to rise -1, so go down 1, run +2, so to the right 2, then connect them. And this is my graph. All right, so I'm going to have you try a few. Okay, so I'm going to have you start out with finding the equation given a point and a slope. Go ahead and try it. Come back when you're ready for the answer. All right, so your equation should be y minus 6 equals 3 times x. It'd be minus -2, so I'm just going to put +2. This one, we have y, it'd be minus -1, which changes to plus +1, equals our slope is 1/4 times x minus 3. All right, go ahead and try these two. I need you to find the slope between the points, and then using the slope and point 1 from each, create the equation. All right, so come back when you're ready for the answer. So I'm going to go through the answer now. We have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which gives us 4 over 2, which is 2. So my slope is 2. I'm going to use this point, which tells me our equation is y minus 4 equals 2 times x minus 1. And over here, we have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Change minus a negative to plus a positive. -1 plus 2 is 1. -4 plus 6 is 2. So we know our slope. We have our point. We have y minus -2 or plus +2 equals our slope of 1/2 times x minus -6 or plus +6. So I'm just reducing it in my head. If you wrote down the step and then reduced it, that's fine. All right, so this one, I want you to identify the point and the slope from the equation. Again, try it and then go through the answers with me. All right, so the point, the x value is 4 and the y value is 3. The slope is 2. On this one, our point, the x value is -2 because the only way to get plus is if it was originally minus -2. Y value is -1 because the only way to get y plus 1 is if it originally was y minus -1. Slope is -2/3. Okay, last thing, I'm going to have you go ahead and identify the point, the slope, and then graph them. And then I will go through the answers with you. Okay, so I'm going to start that now. So our point is 1, 2. The slope is -3, and I'm just going to put it over 1 so I can have it in rise over run form. So we're going to graph x is 1, y is 2. Slope is -3 down 3 over +1. And then the last one, we have the point of -3, -5, because remember this was really originally minus -3, minus -5. Slope is 1/3. graph our point, -3, -5. From there, I'm going to rise 1, run 3, and connect those. And that is our graph. Hopefully you're able to use point slope form.